Hello there, Lisa Pezik here, and thank you for tuning in again to the Lisa Pezik Show. Now, if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. If you've been listening for a while and you're coming back for more, thank you. The idea behind this podcast is to keep it short and sweet and give you little bits and bites of necessary information that you can look at your business, look at your life, assess where you're at, and then go and make one simple, small tweak or change that's going to completely change the trajectory of where you're headed. For me, I've always been kind of a nerd about that, about learning how to do something as quickly as possible, really hands-on, really in-depth, getting in there, and then going and applying it, teaching what I learned to other people, or applying it in my own life and seeing the results that I get. Before being a business strategist and content expert, I was a nurse educator. And when you are a nurse, nurses, if you're listening, you know this, we're busy. We're constantly multitasking and we're constantly prioritizing and triaging. And what triage means, for those of you that don't know, is really prioritizing who needs the most care now, who is the sickest, who is in danger. We got to give them priority first, and the rest can wait. And whether you're triaging as a nurse or you're triaging in your own life, I think that is the balance and the juggling that we do as parents or as entrepreneurs or as those that are working a 9-to-5 and have that side hustle. All of those things come into play, and time is limited, right? So I always want to give you the biggest and the best in the shortest amount of time. When I was teaching my nurses, they would tell me, Lisa, you have 15 minutes to teach us everything you know about things like wound care or palliative care, pain management, or hands-on skills and things. And at first I used to think, oh my gosh, that is hard. Like, how am I going to do that in 15 minutes? But then I flipped my perspective and went, ooh, this is a little bit of a fun challenge. And this is going to challenge me as an entrepreneur to get clear and get right to the point and leave out and cut out the pieces that aren't necessary or are too much information or aren't relevant. And then it kind of started to be a fun game that I enjoyed this challenge. If you love movies and you watch movies, I don't, to be honest. My husband and my little guy love movies, so I love the occasional like Hallmark movie, or I'll sit down. I've gotten better at sitting and watching movies, but if you think about how much goes into filming a movie, like how many scenes they put in a movie, and I love sometimes watching those deleted scenes to see what they edited out and what they didn't use. And I think we do that as entrepreneurs when we're creating videos and social media posts and course content and membership content, blogs, or even this podcast. We're constantly going, is that necessary? Do they need to know that? Or can I cut that out because it doesn't really deepen the point or deepen the teaching? Those of you that use PowerPoint, when you speak or you present, one idea on a slide. When you start throwing a whole bunch of ideas on a slide, people's brains want to read it all because they don't want to miss anything, and they get confused. So clear is better than clever, and simple is best. And that's what I want to talk to you today, is about how to cut your content to really get to the meat and potatoes of what you're trying to say. And I can remember when I first started writing copy for my website, I was following a few people's copy that I liked and a few marketing mentors, and they were saying, look at your copy and cut like a third of it. What you currently have up on your website, cut it. And if you go to lisapezik.com, you'll see that I have a lot more pictures and videos and more engaging stuff on there for the user or the potential client or the peer to go on and click and watch, and less to read. Because in this overly distracted, overly busy, overly crazy, overly squirrel-brained, being hit with marketing messages every 3 seconds and dings and pings on our phone, it's really easy to get distracted. So you might not get to the meat and potatoes of your message until the very bottom of a page. But the reality is someone maybe never will make it there. You maybe don't get to the meat and potatoes of the content in your video until the 25-minute mark. And now the research is showing 7 to 8 minutes is about the longest that someone will tune in to you, unless you've trained them to tune in a little bit longer. Like if this is your first time listening to this podcast, I got probably about 7 or 8 minutes till you decide whether you want to keep hanging or not. If you've been listening for a while and you keep coming back for more, you're probably willing to hang 15, 20 minutes or even 35, 40 minutes when I have some of my experts on with me, because you know it's good content. But the worst thing that could ever happen is you get to the meat and potatoes of 25 minutes and someone tuned you off after 5. Someone tuned you off after 10. So again, I'm going to teach you how to be super clear and get right to the point when you're talking, when you're writing, when you're presenting, and you're putting anything out that you want people to digest and value and deepen the relationship and come back for more. So the very first thing I want to tell you is you need to show instead of tell. And I think about oh my gosh, I'm going to have a 6-year-old next month. My almost 6-year-old, when he was in preschool and kindergarten and they were the leader of the day, they got to bring in a show and tell object, and they had to put it in a bag and they had to cover it up so that it was a mystery secret. And then to work on their vocabulary and their presentation and their confidence, they were allowed to share 3 clues about this mystery toy or picture or gift or whatever it is that they wanted to bring in for show and tell. They were only allowed to give 3 clues. So if you think about even that process, my little guy and those other kids in his class had to be very strategic about what they share if they wanted people to guess it. I'm still not quite sure whether you wanted people to guess it or you wanted to keep it a mystery. I don't really know about that. But either way, he had to be succinct but descriptive. So that's what I want you to think about first when it comes to sharing a story or sharing a testimonial. Show, don't tell. Meaning that if you want to get across the point that you are hardworking, you're not going to say, I am very hardworking because I do X, Y, and Z. You're going to tell a story about the crazy 16 hours that you worked when you had 3 jobs and you were trying to make ends meet and put yourself through college or pay off your student loans or not get evicted or get yourself out of massive debt or whatever it was, the situation that you were in. You want to give me the facts and tell me the facts. And then I'm going to make the inference about, I don't want to say assumption, but maybe it is an assumption. I'm going to make up the idea of whether I think you're hardworking or not, or whether I think you're disciplined or not, whether I think you're loving or kind or passionate or fiery or a leader or a follower or whatever I'm going to decide about you. Let me do that. Don't tell me we provide this kind of service and this is what you're going to get. And that kind of comes later. Tell me a story so I understand who you are and what you're all about. And whether it's you with a personal brand and it's a personal story, or it's a company, people want to do business with a person, right? When we think about Apple, we think about Steve Jobs, right? When we think about Nike, we think about the basketball players. That's not obviously the creators of that, but you think about Michael Jordan and with Air Jordans, and you think about who they tell the story around when you think about the brand. It's always around a person. So I want you to show instead of tell. Create that story, create that scene, and just give me the facts and let me decide what I think it is, like that show and tell object, or what I think you are. Because the people that like you and like your story and like those characteristics, they're your ideal clients. The people that don't, it probably wouldn't be a good fit if you worked with them. So important that you show, not tell. Number two, when you're putting out content or you're teaching or it's a blog or you're trying to explain how to use your product or service or what they're going to do, once you kind of have your script or you write it out, I want you to tell it to someone and have them draw a picture of what you described. Again, an amazing exercise you can do if you have kids or you have little ones. Explain the words, say it to them, and have them draw a picture and see what they come up with. Because they will, again, draw, and then if you're not sure what you're seeing, you can ask. And they'll tell you exactly the way they heard it, they saw it, what they took from it, and you can see if that's the message you were trying to get across, or the point you were trying to get across, or the thing you really wanted them to know. If you know exactly what it is that they drew, is that matching with what you said, right? Is that in line? Is it like, yes, this is what I want you to get. This is exactly what you drew. I see it. Or are there other descriptive words or ways that you can get something out of this creative exercise? So fun. You have a kid, you have a spouse, you have an accountability buddy, a team member. Such a great one to do with them. And then lastly, which I use as a little bit of a team building activity, or I really hate the word icebreaker, because I feel like if you're telling good story, you don't need to break the ice. Again, your story showing that telling gets everybody on the same page. But the last one is to do your elevator pitch. So pair up, I do this as like a group exercise where we pair up with someone and you kind of give your elevator pitch, or you give them a little spiel about who you are, what you do, why you did it, what your story is, what transformation you get people. Sometimes I change the questions of what I want people to share. But basically, if you were going to give an elevator pitch and tell someone what you do and why you do it, have that person listen. And then as a pair, you pretend it's like cocktail hour or coffee hour, and you go around and you introduce your partner. So let's say, for example, it was me and you that were in a group. Me and you were a pair, and I was telling you all about what I do, the transformation. You were telling me all about that. After our time is up, we would walk around and mix and mingle. I would introduce you. I'd say, hey, here's my friend here, Jane or John. Let me tell you a bit about them and what they do. You would explain about me and let me introduce you to Lisa. She's a content marketer, business strategist. She turns underdogs into winners because she was an underdog and felt like an underdog most of her life. And then go into more detail and depth around that. So such a cool and fun exercise for you to do in a group when, again, you're trying to tell someone about a program, or tell someone about a product, or tell someone about something that you want to put out into the universe, and you want people to stand behind a cause, a mission, a vision, a nonprofit, for-profit, a business, whatever it is that you're trying to put out into the world. See what that other person says back to you, because you'll learn very quickly whether you're clear. You'll learn very quickly whether you're putting your assumptions off on other people or if you're just stating the facts, showing, not telling, and letting them decide how they feel. And if that's in line with your brand emotion and how you want them to feel and what you want them to take away. So those are the 3 quick tips, whether you want to practice, if you don't have someone that you can talk to and you want to practice, say, on social media, you can share that story, show, not tell. Whether you've got kiddos or a spouse or a teammate or a boss or somebody that you trust that, sitting around the boardroom, you want to get creative and clever, you want to draw a picture, have them draw a picture when you tell them, or you draw a picture and have them see what comes up with that. And then lastly, whether you're in a group and you're hosting a workshop or you've got a big group of people, you want to have that other person report what you do after you've shared with them. So go have fun, play with this. This is the creative process. And I don't ever feel like your products and programs and services are like a set it and forget it kind of thing. Even if it is evergreened, it's not really evergreened until it's making you consistent revenue. And evergreen meaning you don't really got to do much with it. It's selling itself. Until you get it, that webinar or that course or that membership or whatever it is, until you get it to that evergreen process, you're always tweaking, you're always testing, you're always seeing a different way that you can say it. And clearer is better than clever. You want people to have clear pictures of who you are, what you do, and what transformation you get people and how they work with you. So go. If you need help with any of this, head to www.lisapezik.com, or you can just email me, lisa@lisapezik.com. No, I don't want you emailing my VA. No, I don't want you going to any other account than mine, because I love this kind of work. And if you're stuck, you have questions, you're not sure if you're being clear, that's where we got to book that 15-minute call. That's what we talk about. So tell me, you listen to this podcast, you're booking in a 15-minute call for that, and I know exactly what we're working on. That takes one step out of that process, and I can just send you my calendar, and you can get on, and we'll talk about how to make sure you're being clear. Thank you again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on the Lisa Pezik Show.